And it looked like Michael Jordan trainer has shared his thoughts about Caitlin Clark's injury and how he was able to transform MJ into the player we love today. You guys, that Caitlin Clark more than likely is going to miss yet another game. Now, many people has been speculating about her going to see other doctors, claiming that, the injury could be worse than what it is, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Now, I've been a strong advocate, me and one other person, about this Caitlin Clark adding this muscle to her body very quickly.
The official story surrounding Caitlin Clark's injury is falling apart. While the league releases vague statements about soreness and rest, a much darker and more explosive theory is taking hold. It suggests her sudden disappearance from the court isn't just an injury, it's a crisis born from a controversial decision to bulk up, the brutal, non-stop punishment she endures on the court, and a prophetic warning from the one man who architected Michael Jordan's indestructible body. This isn't just about a strained muscle. It's about a ticking time bomb that threatens to derail the most important career in sports and expose a fatal flaw in the system that was supposed to protect her.
Let me ask y'all something. How come the NBA and these high profile Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame trainers, Hall of Fame coaches, they more concerned about my precious CC than the WNBA? You hear me? It just don't make sense to me. I don't think they really just understand what's going on. They don't appreciate her. She don't need them. They need her at the end of the day. Am I right or am I wrong? I'm waiting. I know I'm right.
It started with a whisper, then grew into a deafening silence. The official statements from the Indiana Fever were models of corporate ambiguity. Groin injury, lower body soreness, reevaluated in a week, no timetable for return. Each update was a masterpiece of saying nothing at all. A carefully constructed wall of text designed to calm the masses, but which only ignited their curiosity.
Trainer did speak about Caitlin Clark actually putting on muscle, and he compared everything to Michael Jordan, how he was able to help him overcome his injury. So if you guys didn't know, MJ, his second year, because the NBA used to be just as physical, or if not more physical, than the current WNBA. Now, the referees wasn't as bad. These are probably the worst referees we have seen in all of basketball ever, bro. Now, with all that being said, the homeboy over on Twitter, Mike, he put together a collection of tweets kind of breaking down his thoughts as well about this whole situation. He stated, "This is what I mean when I say I think Caitlin Clark adding a lot of muscle so quick may of impacting her mechanics, thus leading to so many soft tissue injuries."
This wasn't a player rolling an ankle on a routine play. This was the league's epicenter, its primary engine of growth suddenly vanishing from the court. The contrast was jarring. Just days before being shelved, Clark was playing with a ferocious joy, dropping logo threes and threading no-look passes that bordered on clairvoyant. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was conducting a symphony of offense that left opponents and commentators grasping for new superlatives.
What is it about Caitlin Clark? She's got it. She's got swagger. She's got, if you will, balls. She's tough, she's shrewd, she's not a good passer, she's all-time great. And she makes logo threes, and she makes them beautifully. She jump shoots the way Steph does from the logo, where she's not feet on the floor pushing set shots. She goes up, holds it, and flicks the wrist, and has incredibly underrated strength. She's just got all-time it factor. She's doing things on a nightly basis where you sit back and say, oh, she's selling them out like crazy. That's Jordan-esque.
And then, nothing. The silence from the front office created a vacuum, and into that void rushed a tidal wave of speculation. Fans, who had just watched her dismantle teams with surgical precision, were now being told she was too sore to play. It didn't add up. The narrative felt hollow, and the lack of transparency turned concerned fans into frantic detectives, scouring every frame of her last game for a clue, for the exact moment the machine broke down. The silence wasn't reassuring, it was terrifying. It hinted that the real story was one the league didn't want to tell.
In your guys' opinion, do you feel like Caitlin Clark gets kind of targeted at some of these games, or it's
for sure.
just basketball?
Yeah.
So
She get targeted just like Jordan got targeted.
it's a privilege. You're the best player.
The
They
Jordan
looking at you.
rules. They had the Jordan rules. When you're so good, yeah, you're gonna get targeted.
Absolutely.
It just is what it is.
Absolutely.
Like, come on, man. You gotta, like, when you at a disadvantage, like, I feel like, just like boxing or something. If you fighting against the best, you gotta do something and junk it up.
To understand what might be happening to Caitlin Clark, you have to understand the philosophy of Tim Grover. This isn't just some celebrity trainer. This is the man Michael Jordan trusted with his body. The man who rebuilt Kobe Bryant after injury. The man who fortified Dwayne Wade for his championship runs. Grover's method, detailed in his book, Relentless, is famously counterintuitive. He doesn't start with strength, he starts with weakness. His entire philosophy is built on a simple, brutal truth. You can't build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. Before Jordan became the unstoppable global icon, he was a high-flying athletic marvel who was, believe it or not, susceptible to injury. Early in his career, MJ battled nagging groin pulls and ankle issues, the exact same specters now haunting Clark.
Why is that an issue? I asked this question respectfully, Nafisa, because I remember in the 80s, for example, when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird took the NBA by storm and they were winning championships, competing for championships, but then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
I don't think it's an issue. I do think Caitlin's a star. And like I said, people want to see her, and we are trying to grow the league. Like, you need to.
Grover's solution wasn't to put more weight on the bar. It was to force Jordan to do the boring, tedious, unglamorous work of stabilization. He worked on the tiny muscles, the forgotten ligaments, the mechanics of stopping before he worried about the mechanics of going. He taught Jordan how to land, how to pivot, how to absorb force. He was building a body that wasn't just explosive, but durable. This gospel of prehab over rehab is the key. It's a direct and alarming parallel to the situation unfolding now, suggesting that the very foundation of basketball's newest superstar might have been tragically overlooked in the rush to make her bigger and better.
I'm just saying, I'm calling it how it is. Hey, she Nike material. We ain't talking Reebok. We ain't talking about Shaqs. We ain't talking about them type of shoes. You hear me? We ain't Reebok. You hear me? We talking about the CC effect. Caitlin Clark. Without her, nothing moves. It just makes me so upset. Like, see, people like me who appreciate the game, who have played the game and know what the game supposed to look like, understands my precious CC, Caitlin Clark, and the meaning of.
This is the theory that set the internet on fire. The idea that has become the heart of the entire controversy. Did Caitlin Clark get too big, too fast? In the offseason, photos emerged showcasing her visibly stronger physique. The commentary was almost universally positive. She looked powerful, ready for the rigors of the professional game. The internet buzzed with approval, marveling at her sculpted quads and toned arms. She was, by all accounts, in the best shape of her life. But high-performance sports science tells a more complicated story. Adding significant muscle mass, especially in the powerful quadriceps muscles, without systematically retraining your body's movement patterns can be a recipe for disaster. Think of it like dropping a V8 engine into a car with factory-standard brakes and suspension. The power is immense, but the chassis can't handle it.
Look, Matt's right. I totally agree with him, and I agree. This is just rookie hate. They did this to Michael Jordan. Okay, this is what when you are a hot shot rookie, and she hasn't totally dominated the league, obviously, she hasn't dominated at all, but she's putting up great numbers for a rookie. But Jordan came in averaging 28 points, and people were physical with him. We know he got iced out of the All-Star game and stuff like that. So this is normal. It's oddly, the WNBA looks more physical than the NBA at this point. But Matt is right in that, like, look at Aaliyah Boston. I think she should have, step to her, and you do protect your teammates.
When an athlete's quads become dominant too quickly, it creates a biomechanical imbalance. The hamstrings, glutes, and core muscles, which are crucial for deceleration and stability, can't keep up. Every time she jumps, lands, or makes a hard cut, those overpowered quads are putting immense strain on the surrounding soft tissues, especially the groin and hamstrings. Whew. It's a ticking time bomb. This isn't about being out of shape. It's the opposite. It's about being so powerful that the body's support structures begin to fail. The very strength that was supposed to protect her may have been the thing that made her vulnerable.
Are the Indiana Fever thinking about shutting down Caitlin Clark for the year? This was an announcement from them earlier today. Many of you know Caitlin Clark has been dealing with a groin injury this year. She picked it up in June against Seattle. She missed a bunch of games and then re-aggravated it against Connecticut just a few days before the All-Star game. She's been out since. She's missed 11 of 23 games this year. But this is the statement today from the Fever. Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week, which confirmed that no additional injuries or damage were discovered. This is very good. Clark will continue working with the medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation, with the priority on her long-term health and well-being.
While her own body may have been betraying her, she was also under constant assault from her opponents. From her very first game, a target was painted on her back. This wasn't just tough defense, it was a clear pattern of physical intimidation that went far beyond the normal welcome to the league treatment. She was being hip-checked on her way up the court, shoved from behind on box-outs, and met with hard, unforgiving fouls that often seemed designed to send a message more than to stop a play. Commentators and fans quickly labeled it the Jordan Rules 2.0, a reference to the strategy the Detroit Pistons employed to physically punish Michael Jordan in the late 80s. The goal wasn't just to stop him from scoring, it was to make him feel every single possession, to wear him down mentally and physically.
She's one of the best athletes we've seen, period. Like, let's not talk about women's sports, men's sports. She is an elite athlete on her own caliber, in her own tier. I'm really excited for what it means for women's sports, because more eyeballs means these women get to have the salaries that they deserve. They have the resources that they deserve, that they have earned and worked for. We can't just have a top tier female athlete be a top tier female athlete without it coming with but and. Right. And but. There has to be some kind of polarization. There has to be some kind of controversy. The whole narrative of having to protect Caitlin Clark has a lot of nuance behind it, and nobody is having those conversations.
The parallels were undeniable. Every time Clark drove to the basket, she braced for impact. Every screen she ran through was a potential collision. The question quickly became, is the league doing enough to protect its most valuable asset? The officiating often seemed inconsistent, letting blatant physicality go one moment and calling a ticky-tack foul the next. This constant barrage of aggression was a story in itself, a clear sign that her rivals had decided if they couldn't outplay her, they would try to outmuscle her. This relentless punishment only added another layer of strain to a body that was already struggling to keep up with its own newfound power.
Caitlin Clark, the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. On or off the court, she is changing the culture of the WNBA. A paradigm shift is upon us in the WNBA. A name, Caitlin Clark, is that new paradigm, and whether she is leading while on the court or off, things are changing. As was Michael Jordan when he first came into the NBA, he ushered in a new culture. Let's just say Jordan and Clark share one simple design concept in common when it comes to playing the game of basketball: neoclassical. Jordan played the game in its traditional format, yet placed a brand that stuck. Clark has and will carry on that same concept.
Caitlin Clark's absence from the court wasn't just a problem for the Indiana Fever. It was a full-blown five-alarm fire for the WNBA's business model. The numbers were stark and unforgiving. The moment she was sidelined, television ratings, which had skyrocketed to unprecedented levels, began to plummet. Ticket sales, not just in Indiana, but across the league for games she was scheduled to play in, fell off a cliff. The vibrant secondary market for tickets evaporated. Media mentions, social media engagement, and general public buzz, the metrics that signal a property's cultural relevance, all took a nosedive. This wasn't just an injury to a player, it was a catastrophic blow to the league's bottom line and its future prospects. It exposed a fragile truth. The entire WNBA ecosystem, from its broadcast partners to its sponsors, had become perilously dependent on one 23-year-old rookie. She wasn't just a part of the product, she was the product. Her absence revealed that the league's recent growth wasn't necessarily league-wide growth, but the Caitlin Clark effect. The financial hit was immediate and brutal, and it raised a terrifying billion-dollar question. What is the WNBA without Caitlin Clark? The answer, as the empty seats and sinking ratings showed, was not something the league office wanted to confront.
Hey, bro, I know y'all want to hear it, man. Y'all WNBA true fans, all 24 of y'all don't want to hear the fact of this is 1,000% the golden goose. I don't care if they selling race. I don't care if they selling drama. I don't care if it's not about basketball. We have never seen the WNBA this hype. It could be negative or positive. It don't matter. What is Caitlin Clark's foul doing on CNN? They got the girl getting hit in her head on CNN like it's Obama.
So what is the solution? It's not as simple as rest. Resting a strained muscle only prepares it to be strained again if the root cause isn't fixed. The real path to recovery, the one that ensures this doesn't become a chronic, career-defining issue, leads directly back to the wisdom of Tim Grover. The focus must shift from chasing power to building a foundation of durability. It means embarking on a fundamental reprogramming of her physical approach. It's about embracing the unsexy work, the balance drills, the core stabilization exercises, the focus on eccentric muscle contractions that control deceleration. As Grover famously said, everyone teaches you how to go, no one teaches you how to stop. Clark's recovery will depend on learning how to stop. It's about retraining her body to absorb the shock of its own immense talent. This is the path that turns a one-year phenom into a 15-year legend. It requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to put long-term health over the short-term pressure to get back on the court. The goal should no longer be to come back strong, but to come back balanced, resilient, and indestructible. It's about rebuilding the engine and upgrading the chassis, ensuring her body can sustain her generational talent for years to come.
TV, I was watching Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever. So I've compared her to Michael Jordan, not stylistically, obviously, but in merchandise sales, kind of a dynastic TV rating changer. And in year one, like you just were like, wow, nobody plays like that. And then in year two, Michael Jordan got hurt. And then in year two for Caitlin Clark, she's getting banged up and hurt. Why did MJ always get hurt early? Because they were tackling him. Nobody knew how to stop him. And the WNBA officiating is just changed. Like it was always a physical league. Now it's insane. So last night she gets hurt again.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and the WNBA's silence created a perfect storm for the internet's army of armchair analysts and online detectives. Long before mainstream sports media caught on, threads on Reddit and Twitter were buzzing with the bulking up theory. Fans were posting side-by-side photo comparisons, circling her quads, and debating biomechanics with a passion usually reserved for championship games. They were the first to connect the dots, crowdsourcing an analysis that was months ahead of the official narrative. But as the silence dragged on, the speculation mutated into something darker and more complex. The conspiracy factory went into overdrive. One popular theory claimed the league was intentionally, quote-unquote, shelving her, trying to dim her spotlight to protect the egos of veteran stars who were being overshadowed. Another whispered of a behind-the-scenes fallout with the Indiana Fever's coaching or medical staff. Were they mismanaging her? Was she frustrated with the team? Every day without a clear update added fuel to these fires. In the absence of facts, speculation became king. The narrative was no longer being controlled by the league, it was being written in real time by a global community of fans who felt left in the dark, and their collective imagination painted a far more sinister picture than a simple groin pull. While the world debated the reasons for her absence, the Indiana Fever were left to deal with the reality of it. On the court, they looked like a team adrift. It wasn't just her 20-plus points in clutch shooting they were missing, it was her gravity. Clark's presence on the floor bends defenses in a way few players in history ever have. Double teams are a given, forcing rotations that leave other players wide open. Without her, that gravitational pull vanished. The floor shrunk, passing lanes disappeared, and shots became tougher for everyone. The team's offensive identity, which had been built entirely around their phenom, collapsed. But the impact was more than just tactical. It was psychological. Her teammates were suddenly facing a relentless barrage of questions not about their own performance, but about their missing superstar. The locker room became a place haunted by the ghost of Caitlin Clark. The pressure to win without her was immense, an almost impossible task that seemed to weigh on every possession. They weren't just a team without their best player, they were a story without its main character. and the weight of that absence was visible in their play and in their expressions. For WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the league's front office, the Caitlin Clark situation became a public relations nightmare, a high-wire act with no safety net. They were trapped on an impossible tightrope, caught between two equally disastrous outcomes. On one side, if they were seen to be pressuring her or the team to rush her back to save the ratings, they would face a firestorm of criticism for prioritizing profit over the health of a young player. The potential for a catastrophic, career-altering re-injury was immense, a gamble no responsible league could afford to take. On the other side, being overly cautious and keeping her on the bench for an extended period meant watching their ratings, revenue, and cultural momentum wither and die. This option would confirm the league's worst fear, that it could not sustain its own growth and was completely dependent on a single player. Every statement, every leak, every decision was scrutinized. Pushing her back meant risking her future. Holding her out meant risking the league's future. It was a no-win scenario that laid bare the precariousness of their position and the terrifying fragility of the Caitlin Clark effect. This story, as shocking as it feels in the moment, is a classic and tragic sports narrative that has played out time and time again. The history of sports is littered with the ghosts of what if, phenoms whose meteoric rise was cut short because their bodies broke down under the immense strain of their own talent. You can hear the echoes of Caitlin Clark's situation in the story of Grant Hill, a player with transcendent, all-around genius whose career was tragically hobbled by ankle injuries that were never properly allowed to heal. You can see the parallels in the explosive rise and painful fall of Derrick Rose, the youngest MVP in NBA history, whose knees buckled under the force of his own unmatched athleticism. You can even look to international icons like Yao Ming, a giant whose body simply couldn't withstand the pounding of the NBA game. These were all generational talents, superstars destined for all-time greatness, whose careers became cautionary tales. They are the ghosts of phenoms past, haunting reminders that talent is fragile and that the too much too soon curse is very real. It adds a layer of historical weight to Clark's struggle, showing that the warning signs have always been there for those willing to see them. This moment of crisis must become a call to action. The goal can no longer be simply to, quote, heal a groin injury. The goal must be to completely overhaul the philosophy and approach to managing her career. This is the time to build a legend, not create a martyr for the sport. It means moving beyond the team's local doctors and bringing in the world's foremost experts in sports science and biomechanics. It means fully embracing the Tim Grover prehab philosophy, making joint stability and movement efficiency the absolute priority. It's about creating a sustainable, long-term plan that values a dominant 15-year career over 15 more explosive games in a single season. This blueprint would involve meticulous load management, not just sitting out games, but carefully monitoring every minute played, every drill in practice, and every pound lifted in the gym. It requires a fundamental shift in thinking, from pushing the limits to protecting the asset. This is the moment to choose. Does the system around her continue to chase short-term hype, or does it commit to the patient, intelligent, and often unexciting work of building an athlete who can truly last? The saga of Caitlin Clark's injury has become a battle between two powerful, opposing forces. The relentless, modern demand for immediate, spectacular results versus the timeless, foundational wisdom of building an athlete who is meant to endure. Her strained groin isn't the real problem. It's merely a symptom. It's the check engine light flashing on the dashboard of a league that was running too hot, too fast, powered by a single miraculous engine. The injury didn't break the system. It simply exposed a system that was already cracked, one that prioritized hype over health and power over stability. Now the clock is ticking. The choices made in the coming weeks and months by her team, and by the league will do more than just determine the future of her career. They will define the future of the entire sport. Are they building a dynasty or just a memory? The answer will reveal whether they've learned from the ghosts of the past or are doomed to create a new one.